right, part 3, return to school update. Kind of want to remind everyone, we are planning 3 different scenarios. One, we are planning a return to remote. When is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? We have no idea, but that's part of our planning process. We are also currently planning where we're at, which is the hybrid option, which we're currently in. We're also planning for a full 5-day return. We didn't just start planning for a full 5-day return. We've been working on it. So I won't talk about going to a full remote. I'm going to talk about the hybrid we're currently in and then return to 5 full days. David, next slide. So we're going to look at the hybrid highlights and the challenges. So some of the highlights, we know it's designed in the time of COVID, right? We probably said COVID a million times already tonight. Unfortunately, that's where we're at. So it's a compromise between virtual learning and in-person learning. A couple benefits with it. One, 2 cohorts allow students to remain within recommended distances. We know the in-person schedules allow teachers to continue to use formative assessments, meeting the needs of students within the core curriculum areas. Curriculum is developed and pacing is focused on core learning essentials in all 4 core academic areas, with flexible times for arts. We know, again, we've emphasized core learning essentials while we're in person in the hybrid. So the hybrid allows our students to interact with each other in a pandemic-safe environment, providing daily and weekly structure that supports the intellectual, social, emotional, and physical needs of students. Challenges. Let's be honest, we know there's challenges. We hear about the challenges. We see the challenges. We know that, all right? So just some of the challenges. So the hybrid impacts each grade band differently in terms of instructional time due to several factors. One, pacing of task completion varies by student, by course, and location. You see this with a student who might take 5 minutes to do something, another student takes 30 to complete the same task. Each change in instructional plan, whether we go from remote, hybrid, full return, it lessens the focus on instruction for about 3 weeks. The new systems and procedures become the initial focus. Think about when we first started the school year and we were remote. It took us really about 3 weeks to kind of get up and running and our feet under us as we kind of worked out the kinks. We're trying to work out some of the kinks right now with the hybrid model for however long we're going to be in it, because we know we have to continue to grow and get better. At the high school level, the total course load is not reduced. We've got the model where the teachers facilitated between an online group and in person. The number of students choosing to come into school on a given day can be as small as 3 to 5. Or if you have 15 that could come in, all 15 are coming in. It really varies by the day. And then really starting to see an unbalanced participation between the in-person and remote students that are connecting virtually into a class, and that's 6 through 12. So those at home don't seem to be as active. And that couple reasons that could be: one, they're at home, they may not feel as included, and 2, the teacher's still trying to figure out this concurrent model, a model that really didn't exist before. You always hear about, well, my kid's in college and they were able to live stream, right? So I've got 2 in college too, and they're live streaming now. It's them having the teacher talk to them for 2.5 hours in a lecture with no way of giving or receiving any type of feedback. And so that is what we don't want to do. And so that is not what's going on, but we have to figure out a way how we can try to make those that are at home maybe be a little more active and participate. David, next slide. Back one. So Wednesdays, K through 12. We know that Wednesdays are an asynchronous day. So there's some limitations and challenges with that. So let's talk about that. So there's a combination of asynchronous and some virtual instruction that's required to meet the competing needs. So what's going on Wednesdays? We know teachers are attending IEPs for students. We know there are building-based meetings. We know there are team and grade level meetings. We know there are data studies. We know that there's tech-embedded professional learning. Also, professional planning time and other related contractual provisions to support teachers happens on Wednesday. That's where they're getting the majority of their planning time, especially at the elementary level. Remember, almost, I would kind of, if I had to debate someone, I would say that every teacher this year is a first year teacher because they're teaching in a way they weren't trained to teach. So our teachers that are in the building in person teaching, they really need double the prep, which unfortunately we can't provide because they're learning how to be a teacher in a new environment. They're learning how to teach in line, how to restructure their lessons for in person, and then also providing that asynchronous work for students to do. So it's really different planning they've ever done. We also know that the deep cleaning in our buildings, which helps reduce the spread, happens on Wednesdays. So looking at how can we improve, how can we make it better? So looking at a process for redesign to continue to empower site-based instructional leadership teams to consider feedback and redesign the learning experiences for the day for elementary, middle school, high school. Consider more structure and depth to those Wednesdays. A lot of that's your guided practice work. Choice and variety in student engagement. Preserve time for teacher, student, parent, and contacts. One thing that we should possibly think about is using our board instructional committee to collaborate with building teams to provide support with exploring new designs and structures, and schedule an additional meeting with our board instructional team to kind of look at that and see how we can continue to try to move it forward. David, next slide. So synchronized learning, let's talk about that a little bit. So we know, kind of give you a brief description. So teachers and students are engaged within the curriculum together, okay, synchronous learning. This takes the form of, it can be whole group instruction, I can break them into small groups, groups that are working in collaboration with other students, with teacher supervision, watching a video together with guidance and context provided by the teacher, student and teacher sharing of learning. So in all the classroom formats, instructional design and student learning occur throughout the day outside of teacher facilitated time. So maybe in my class, I said, hey, everyone, we're working on a research paper. For the first 10 minutes, I instruct everyone, here's how you're going to do it. It's going to be APA format. It needs to be 5 paragraphs. Your thesis starts with although. You need to have a transition, blah, 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 and we go on. All right, for the next 45 minutes, you're going to work independently and work on kind of putting that together, right? Just as a small example. So we know COVID has impacted the maximum number of students that can be in person at one time. Therefore, the time of teacher-facilitated instruction differs. However, the instructional models remain consistent. Students attending Bloomfield Virtual work independently on tasks during the school day in ways similar to remote portion of the hybrid school day. So at a minimum, to meet students' needs, our students in Bloomfield Virtual K through 2. They have 100 minutes of planned synchronous learning per day or 500 minutes per week minimum. Grades 3 through 5, they have 120 minutes of planned synchronous learning per day or 600 minutes per week. Our hybrid students face-to-face K through 5. They have 165 minutes of planned synchronous in-person day per day for 660 minutes per week. David, next slide. So Bloom Preschool, and these pictures are so adorable. Oh my gosh, they're so little. So we know within our preschool, we know it's operating 5 days a week. Our preschool spaces are deep cleaned once a week after dismissal. Actually, they're cleaned every day after dismissal. Our infant to 4-year-old enrollment, we're about 30 to 40% from the previous school year. So we've kind of kept the enrollment down. This reduced student count allows for full day operations with greater social distancing. Our preschool staff, unlike our elementary staff, are compensated for their planning time rather than receiving release time within the instructional day. Currently, right now, the program is operating at a net loss. So we're expecting to lose money on it this year. One of the decisions we made back in August was knowing that there's a good chance we would lose money within the Blooming Preschool this program, but felt there was a need for daycare within the community. So we made the decision to see maybe we'll break even, maybe we'll make a little, maybe we'll lose a little, but it would best meet the needs of the community if we move forward and we open up Blooming Preschool. David, going from there. All right, planning for a 5-day return. Next slide. So a couple things we're looking at. One, the metrics have to be in alignment. We know that we've seen an increase in the past 14 days, really the past 7 days. What is it going to be like the next couple of days moving forward? I have no idea. 2 weeks ago, everything looked really great with a lot of the numbers. Again, 2 weeks from now, they could look great again. We need to make sure that we're communicating to our community that students will be less than 6 feet apart with masks on at all times aside from lunch. So a full 5-day return, we will not be at that 6 feet. We need to work through some logistics that administrators have identified, which we've been working on for some time now. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We also need to start gauging how many students plan to be in person versus virtual second semester. Are we going to have a lot of students that stay in Bloomfield virtual or a lot that want to come back to face to face? Are we going to have a lot that are in the buildings right now that want to go to Bloomfield virtual? So we've got to look at that staffing piece again. And then hiring staff for full-time schooling, additional needs, guest teachers, transportation, custodial, food service, paraprofessionals. And I'll talk about that more later because that's where we can use some help from the community. Next slide. So as we continue to plan for a 5-day return, we need help with staffing. So whether it's a community member that is looking to do something part-time or full-time, or someone, we definitely need people. So leave of absence, we have 41 staff that are eligible and applied for an extended leave of absence. We have 17 that are currently in quarantine, and that could change any given day. So we know our parents, we're asking them to fill out the screener. Same with our staff. If they've been in close contact with someone they found out was positive, they're going in quarantine. We also know that if they don't pass the screener in the morning, they can't come in. So I know today I was at Bloomfield Hills Middle School, and I got to see one of the building secretaries, Miss Parks, in the job she was doing. She was pulling a building sub from another building over, moving the sub in her building to another spot, moving the para to cover the classroom in another spot, then finding out that para wouldn't have access to the Zoom link. So moving a different sub there, and then a para. Miss Parks was unbelievable in how she was managing, rotating everything around to get everyone covered. Moral of the story, she's awesome. Second moral of the story, we need you to work for Bloomfield Hills Schools, even if it's just this school year. So looking at support staff, so you can look at 2009 and 2020 as far as paras, resignations, new hires, we're down 13. Remember, we're asking parents to do things that we didn't previously ask them to do, like, hey, can you go out and be the crossing guard? Because we can't send a custodian out, they need to clean. Hey, we need you to man the quarantine room. Hey, we need you to go and do this. So a lot of their duties have changed and we're down. Preschool and latchkey, we would like to have more spots for some of those programs, but we're down 17. And bus drivers, we're down 8. Just today, a school district announced that they're going to not bus students for a week in their community because they're so short of drivers. So we're kind of filling in that. Jane Mack, who's our supervisor, is driving. The dispatcher is driving. They're condensing routes together and putting more kids on a different route, or a combined route rather, so that we can actually get the transportation up and running. We've also had to kind of limit the pickup spots and not have as many, just because we need to get done with the route sooner because we're drivers. So what are we doing, right? So we know there's an issue. So our recruiting efforts. So it's on the Oakland County Consortium, LinkedIn, signs, flyers, social media, PTO sites, Facebook, Instagram. As far as instructional and administrators, it's on Oakland County Consortium, Handshake, which is all our participating universities, and then all the other alphabet soup groups we can as far as finding additional help. David, next slide. So what exactly are the things we're working on in conjunction with the building administrators? So coming up with the best way to communicate that based on our numbers, now that we know what our numbers are right now, and again, it could change because people will make that choice second semester. We know that once we go back full time, we're not going to be able to have that 6 feet across the board. That some might be within 1 to 3 feet, depending on the classroom. Again, our goal will be a minimum of that 3 feet, but there are some cases, especially at the high school, in a couple elementary classrooms. Even though we're using some of the larger spaces for other classes, we still could be under that 3 feet. Focusing on our arrival and dismissal procedures. That's going to be even more important now that we look at the new CDC guidelines. Lunch procedures, including recess safety protocols and supervision, because we know they're not going to be wearing a mask. Quarantine room, symptom protocols. I can tell you it's more than likely we're going to see an update coming regarding symptom protocols and quarantine rooms in the near future. Classroom assignments, furniture placement, and usage. So again, depending on some of the sizes, we'll need to move different furniture, not only from different classrooms, but potentially from different buildings to make sure it meets the needs of the number we're going to have. Uh, Revise and revamp service schedule for special education sports and interventions. That's something I think, and I'd have to talk to Jen Perone. I think we just finally got most of those pieces put together for the hybrid, but I'm not sure because you try to plan everything, right? And then you actually get to the point where you implement it. And then you always have those things like, oh, I didn't know that was going to be a conflict. I didn't know that was going to be a conflict. Again, this is all new, so we're kind of learning as we go along. Revise the special schedules. Create contingency plans for staff shortages and or staff that need to be quarantined. Plan for more crowded hallways and larger gatherings of students in various spaces. Cleaning protocols. Again, this isn't something we just started working on. We've been working on it, but now knowing some of the numbers, we're continually having to adjust some of those things. With another instructional model shift, schools need to, again, look at the art schedule, hire, train, and then how do we make sure we're supporting teachers and students as we transition? And I'll talk about that briefly coming up. David, next slide. So right now our dates are to be determined. We're looking at, and Wing Lake is going to be determined for quite some time. Special population at Wing Lake. So we'll need to work really, really close with Rebecca Anders to see what is going to be best for her. It's a completely different situation. We know she has a very fragile student body she serves. And with the flu season and everything else, we need to be very, very cautious. We kind of like the way we phased it in before. However, with our configuration, we won't be able to do a K5. You know, a lot of districts are saying, all right, we're doing K5. That's one bus route. We'll try to do this. We'll try to do that. For us, and we'll continue to work on it, looks like the phase-in would need to be K through 8 together. Again, we have K3 buildings. We have K4 buildings. We have buildings that are middle school that are 4-8 and 5-8. So you can't just do that K5. As of right now, it doesn't work. And then the high school being the last phase that will come back. David, next slide. Also, we're cognizant of technology. We know we have a lack of technology devices for all students. We're about 1,700 short. We ordered 600 in April. So David, Sammer, and the whole IT team got on that right away. We knew we were going to need more. We knew that everything and anything was potentially possible. And then we ordered 2,000 more in June. 600 are finally expected in January. Everyone is on a back order for Chromebooks and devices. This is not unique to Bloomfield Hills. The 2,000 were canceled. They simply said, we don't have devices for you. So right now, we know families are supplementing with devices at home that may not be mobile or may be shared and not able to bring to school. So K through 1, we have 660 plus iPads. We're covered one-to-one. Second grade through 12th grade, we're about 1,700 short for one-to-one. The reason we were ordering more devices was because we knew going into this year, we should come prepared to have one-to-one devices for all of our students. David, next slide. So again, planning for a 5-day return. Transportation, need 10 additional drivers. Again, I'm not sure what the requirements are, but if it's something to be interested in, you get to see smiling faces every day. You get to get out and kind of be about. Some of the challenges, unemployment stimulus. You know, a lot of people are making more money staying home than they are coming to work right now. And that is something that is definitely a challenge for us. And When I talk to not just public schools, but private schools in Oakland County, it's a challenge for them. Everyone is looking for additional staff right now that I've spoken to. And then there is the fear of COVID-19 in the workplace. Many people are concerned about going to work and, contracting COVID. So some of the action items for us: continue recruiting and training efforts, consider service level reduction when it comes to transportation, such as neighborhood stops for elementary and middle school. I mean, if that's one of the things we need to do to bring everyone back 5 days, that's something that we need to consider. It's something that hasn't been done in this district before. But if we only have X amount of bus drivers to do it, and the only way it works is with a neighborhood stop, kids are going to walk more than they've walked before. And then limit eligibility ridership to students based on proximity to the school building. Again, not probably making everyone happy. That would be an option, but we need people. We need employees. Next slide, David. So continuing with the planning for a 5-day return, our COVID daily pre-screen tool combined with the COVID suspected confirmed case reporting tool and daily attendance. This continues to get updated all the time. We continue to make tweaks. The guidance continues to change. Again, this was just done. I believe it was finished yesterday. And I'm almost 100%, 99.9% positive by this time next week, we'll have new guidance that's coming out as far as the screening. And if you have this, or if you have 2 of these, an update is on its way. So we streamlined the notifications to Oakland County Health Division and internally. Examples: automatically goes to custodial for rapid cleaning, administrators for siblings and family members attending working or at other sites, transportation if the student rides the bus, human resources, provide sub coverage. Great job, Linda Swider. As it is now, we know the Oakland County Health Division is really, and I mentioned this before, kind of getting bogged down with the number of cases and contact tracing. So we've been helping. We're probably going to need to help a ton more. And it's a role we may need to ask our family ambassadors to step into, because we need to get on it right away. We can't wait however long it might take. And no fault of Oakland County Health Division. They only have so many people, so many epidemiologists, and when they're busy and backed up, they are. But if we're moving, and as far as I can tell from the new CDC guidelines and feedback from Oakland County Health Division today, to that within 6 feet for 15 minutes within a 24-hour period, that's going to require a ton more contact tracing. So now the first page of the form remains the daily tool. Beyond that is a reporting tool if needed. At the end of the reporting tool, families and staff know what to do and what will happen next. That streamlined addition makes it a lot easier for families knowing the next steps. David? All right, again, so I'm cautiously optimistic, and I'm always optimistic, that this bad 2-week period, we're now going to see a good 2-week period where the numbers are going to go back down, and that it was just a minor spike and things will definitely go back down. School all day, they have to wear their mask all day except for the eating lunch. Work through the logistics that administrators identified. Again, that's work we've been continuing to work on. Know how many students plan to be in person versus virtual for second semester. And then hiring staff. We I have to double check with Kelly. I believe the sub, you need 60 hours, 60 college credit hours to sub. Kelly, are you on, or someone know the exact criteria for sub? Anyways.
All right, Pat, it's 2 years of college plus age 18 for K-8, age 21 for 9 through 12.
Thank you. So if you're a BHS graduate or an IA graduate and you're home, this could be a way for you to give back, make some money, impact young children or high school kids. and really have a lot of fun. If you're a parent of older children and you're like, boy, I'm just bored of being in the house all day and I really want to do something different, we definitely need help. So we need guest teachers for teacher absences because we have no idea.
Yeah, I think, Pat, you're going in and out if you're not realizing it.
Yeah, Pat, we've lost you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can't hear Pat now, but I'm sure he's just
I don't think
re-emphasizing
he
how
can't.
important.
Can you hear us, Pat?
Can you hear me?
No.
Yeah, can you hear me?
No. You cut in and
We
out.
can hear you.
Just out
We
for.
can hear you now. Yeah, I think you were just kind of re-emphasizing how much fun it will be to substitute in our district. So I think we just probably missed the last part of that.
All right, so we definitely need the guest teachers. We need additional transportation as far as drivers. We need custodians. We need additional food service, and then pairs and instructional assistants. Keep in mind that when we're able to move back to 5 full days, we need to give our parents a 2-week notice and our staff and our teachers a 2-week notice. Again, our decisions are going to be multifactorial as we continue to move along.